So last week in the second feature, I started on the outside pole, so I started second. I quickly fell back. I knew that was going to happen. There was a lot of fast cars right behind me. I held my line, I just kept going, just trying to hold on to a nice top 10 finish. I think it was lap 11, and I had the car outside of me pass me about halfway down the straightaway, and I wanted to come up for the corner to get my best line possible, and there was a car just to the outside of me, which I didn't know about, and my dad didn't tell me about because he didn't think I'd be coming up regardless. So we went into the wall there with the front end pretty minorly, and then we hit the rear end pretty hard when the 11 stood on the brakes for me, which thank you, so no further damage was caused. Yeah, so we hit the rear end pretty hard, and I wasn't sure if anything was really wrong with the car. Everything felt fine, but then a little bit later in the race, the setup, what I thought the setup just started to go away, and the car wasn't handling well. A little bit later in the race shop, we actually found out that the panhard bar mount was completely broken and completely twisted. We found that out when I went to go change the positioning of the panhard bar. In turn, we found out it was actually both pieces of it were broken. I'm glad that we went to go change that change we made, and we found that. So we found that late Monday night. Tuesday, we drove out to London and picked up the exact part we need. We put it on the car, and we went from there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we had to do on the car this week. We spent every single night in the garage. Yeah, it was, to say the least, it was a really eventful week. We did a lot of stuff in the garage. We made a lot of improvements, and we worked on setup. My dad said he thinks I'm finally to the point of getting all I can out of the car with what we've put in it so far. So we decided to dedicate a lot more time and ask some professionals for some advice on what to do with the car and how to set it up.
It's been a very weak for us at Adams Motorsports. Last Saturday night we got into the wall a little bit in the second feature. Where I was able to finish the race, but the car wasn't handling well. Sunday, Kendra worked all day. Kelly and I took the day out to Peterborough Speedway to watch some racing. So on Monday night, when her and I were in the garage working on the car underneath, we found some damage to the panhard bar mount that goes onto the rear end. So we scrambled on Tuesday to try and find the part. We were able to locate a different part, and when we got back to the shop, we got a call from one of the guys down at McCall's Racing Products, and they actually did have the direct replacement part that we were looking for. So Kendra and I made a road trip Tuesday night out to London, Ontario, McCall's, picked up the part that we needed, and got back. So Wednesday, Thursday, we scrambled pretty hard, replacing the part that was broken on the panhard bar mount, and then going over things in the back end to make sure nothing else was bent or could have been bent. So checked the rear end for square. There was a little bit of problem with the rear end, so we were able to get a little bit of toe out of the rear end because it was bent. So a lot of work on the front end as well. We hit the wall with the right front, or hit the wall with the right front. So went through that, took everything apart, making sure nothing was bent, the tie rods, the ball joints, the spindle, the hub, that sort of thing. So panhard bar is a mount that locates the rear end laterally and supports the rear end laterally, left to right. The control arms, and there's 3 links that hold the control arm, and they're all front and forward, if you will, front and back. So there's the only lateral support is the panhard bar, and it bolts to the rear end on one side and mounts to the chassis on the other side, and it affects the rear roll center depending on how high we move either side on the mount. So because we hit the wall, that tried to shove the rear end over, and that's what broke the panhard bar mount on the rear end. Set them up, get inside of them. them here. Get inside of them. And green, 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 green. Clear by 2, no pressure. Get a feel. Hit the bottom. And big gas out. See what it's at. Come on.
There's a lot of stuff we had to do on the car this week. We spent every single night in the garage. Yeah, it was, to say the least, it was a really eventful week. We did a lot of stuff in the garage. We made a lot of improvements. And we worked on setup. My dad said he thinks I'm finally to the point of getting all I can out of the car with what we've put in it so far. So we decided to dedicate a lot more time and ask some professionals for some advice on what to do with the car and how to set it up to the best of our abilities. So we did that this morning, and I think from what happens on the track so far in practice, we're in a really good spot for qualifying and for the race. The car turns and exits really well as gets in. This is probably the best, if not one of the best the car's been. Hopefully this setup, we've set the car up great for the beginning of races, and it'll go away on us. So hopefully we get this the perfect setup, and we can have the car perform like this for the whole race. That's honestly my goal tonight, is to have a setup really well throughout the race, and that's all we can really hope for.
Do you pull the fender out?
Maybe. Because I don't want to come from the inside out, because then it's sticking out far and it might get in the way of the trailing arm. Glamour of racing?
That is the glamour of racing. Unfortunately, there's no glamour to the glamour of racing.
Now, do you think the changes that we made between first practice and second practice helped? Or do you think the tires made a bigger difference? I'm sure the tires made a difference, but do you think the adjustment, did it feel better going in? Because the tires aren't going to make a big difference.
Because I know, I was just going to say, like, I think the tires made the difference coming out.
Yeah.
But I think the adjustments made the difference going in, because coming out, honestly, going in, honestly, was like pretty bad.
Last practice?
Yeah.
This practice?
Really good.
The car felt a lot more stable?
Felt fine, yeah. And then,
Center
last
off?
practice, center was amazing, just same. Actually, almost felt a little tight in the center, but then I'd like on the gas, and then I was like, don't care if it's tight a little bit in the center. It wasn't really like tight, but you know what I mean? Like, it felt kind of like, yeah. It wasn't as free through the center, but I can't have it both. So I was like, this is a perfect middle. And then I felt really good off, but I knew it was mostly the tires coming off, because it didn't feel like setup loose. It felt tire loose. Honestly, like, I don't care if you think I'm...
Kyle Busch over here wants new tires every time she's in the car.
Who doesn't?
So do
I
I,
don't
though.
care.
As an ex-driver, so do I. But as a guy who's buying them,
You're not buying them?
that's why I didn't buy them when I raced. Now Kendra's got lots of money, so she wants new tires.
Let me out first.
Okay, go. Ernie's coming, Ernie's coming. Let Ernie go. And now go. Start getting into it here. About at least that much room. Don't get any closer than that. Come into white flag. Give a little scrub here. White flag. Come on. White flag. Everyone's out.
After the first 3 groups had went, except for the last group, which is only 4 cars, I was sitting 6th, and I expected all of them to beat me. So I was like, okay, we're thinking 10th. That's my best qualifying. I'm super happy about that.
Drive it. The car will stick. Throw it into 3. Get a good lap here. Nice in. Hard turn. Brake. And now throttle it off all the way. Keep digging. Keep drive. Big turn. Big pull. Come on. Big gas. Come on. All the way. Get in. Car's going to come in now. Big gas all the way. Come on. Nice and tight. Let's go.
And then only 1 car actually qualified in front of me. So I'm really excited about that. 7th. our best qualifying by 4 spots now. So our last best was 11th. So let's go get our best feature finish.
Big jam to the checker here. Big jam to the checker. Let's go.
15.204.
Qualifying was the best we've run all year long. We made a bunch of changes like we talked about through the week. A lot of changes this morning and even some changes in between our practice and the second practice. She went out for qualifying and ran 7th on the board. There was a car that had some transponder issues that they dovetailed in actually on the pole, which knocked her to 8th. But fastest qualifying effort for her. She ran some of the fastest laps she's run all year and beat some real heavy hitters in qualifying. So very, very excited for the night. Again, if we get down to our expectations, we want to, if we finish where we start, we're going to be ecstatic. If we can move up a couple spots, it'll be a career best finish. And if we can finish inside of the top 10 after finishing all the laps, we'll be very happy for that as well. We got some real heavy hitters, like I mentioned, behind us. So there's going to be some pressure, but the car's working really, really well, and the driver comfortable, comfort level is the best it's ever been. And that always lends to usually a decent night. So won't push anything, get what we get, and hopefully we finish where we start or get a couple spots out of it.
Hey, beautiful! How are you?
Good, how are
Krista
you?
wants to give you a hug too.
All right, so tonight is actually, there's a VIP event being held in our VIP section by one of my sponsors, the Mortgage Station. Sponsors are super important in this sport, and without them and without the fans, none of us would be here. So I have to give huge thanks and huge shout out to them. And it's awesome that they're supporting the track and supporting all their clients here tonight. So I'm hopefully going to do the same. I'm going to go up, interact with my sponsors and all their clients, and a lot of them come here and then end up being big race fans. So honestly, it's awesome to have a sponsor like that support myself, but also support the track and our community which we race in.
You like being a race car driver?
I love racing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's so
Are you
fun.
not scared?
No, not anymore. Every time I'm about to go out, I get really bad butterflies, and then once I'm on the track,
it goes away.
yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God, I can't believe it.
What did she love?
She signed her signature.
Do you want a picture?
That's pretty cool. Thank you.
No problem. Nice meeting you guys.
Let's see here. Say hi to her. Ask her what color wants her car. See?
How you old? You racist. Watch me.
There you go. Do you want a picture?
Watch me.
He's
Whoa, you're almost as fast as me. Maybe one day I'll see you race here. What do you think?
Can I get a picture?
Yeah. Without all these fans here, there really wouldn't be a sport that we love and we enjoy. So without all these fans, the sponsors, and the track owners, none of us would be here doing the sport we love.
35 lappers. So you don't got to worry about anybody but yourself. Gonna run 35 laps, clean, green, get what we get, run where we run. You know your car stays good at the end,
Yeah.
and we're gonna be there. Don't get too far ahead of the best qualifying effort you've ever had. How did you get there? You just drove the car as well as the car was gonna handle. So we're gonna do the same in the feature. We're not over gonna drive it. Well, I don't drive it at all. You're not gonna overdrive it. You're gonna get out of the car what you can and try and get some feedback start, middle, and end of the race so we can make some changes for the second feature if we need to adjust to have the car handling different or better at any point in the race. You about it?
I'm about it.
All right, get in the car because you're starting up front, so you have to get ready to go. You're probably going to lose some spots before the end of the race, but we'll gain some spots as well, okay?
I'm scared because Holdaway's right behind me. But hey, Holdaway's right behind me because I qualified ahead of him. See ya.
And ahead of Gordy
And Walters.
and Baker with new tires.
I'm honestly shook.
So
Just be smart out there and just remember that probably gonna happen in the front, so just be patient and give some room.
Okay.
Good luck, baby.
Thanks. Love you.
I'll let you know if you're taking it in. green, 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 green. Good start. Pass back, no pressure. Pass back, no pressure. Pass back, you pull it coming out, no pressure, keep rolling. Inside, still inside. Great line, Kendra, keep digging, great job. Pass back, no pressure. Keep pulling coming up, go, inside. Great job, outside now, outside, keep one lane only, follow that 11. Outside, follow the 11, keep one lane only.
There's a lot of tight racing. These cars are so close together, they're within a second of each other. So when you get us all this close and this close, inches apart, we're running bumper to bumper and door to door, and it gets a little crazy, it gets squirrely, but that's my favorite part. I love racing door to door, bumper to bumper. It's exciting, and it makes you push yourself even harder and push your car to the limit, which is my favorite thing about it.
Pinch it down, great job, clear by one, use the whole racetrack. Clear by one, clear by half, hit your marks. 48 looking, 48 outside, 48 fender outside, just a fender, don't pinch it down, keep running like that, 48 outside, 41, one back, no pressure.
The race went pretty good, not as we expected. I thought I was going to gain a couple spots. I started 8th and I finished 10th, still inside the top 10 and still in the inversion. Unfortunately, I picked a 9, so that kind of sucks. The setup was a little bit off, so we're kind of just going to try our best to tone it back a bit. It was really tight loose, so in the middle of the corner, it did not want to turn. And then since you're like this to turn the car, when you get on the gas, it just wants to loop around. So the tight loose is probably one of the worst situations you can be in, because after the entry of the corner, you're kind of screwed the whole way. So we're gonna fix that for the next feature, and gonna start 9th and then see where it takes us from there.
No pressure, hit your marks now, hit your marks. Hit your marks. White flag this time by. White flag, forward looking, clear. Hit your marks. Bring it home. Forward looking, don't ride up. Half back and forth, just bring it in nice and easy here. Don't wash up. Check the flag this time by, come on, check the flag this time by. P10, buddy, that's what we're looking for, P10, great job. Help the car roll better right through the middle, hopefully. We took some air out of the left rear, so we'll have more stagger. That's going to make the biggest change. We moved the left rear trailing arm up 1/2 inch on the chassis, which is one of the things that Joe and Paul changed today. So we kind of put it back.
You put it back? Why did you put it back?
Because Paul recommended it.
Oh, okay. Did Paul recommend
And
all
we
that
cut
other
the front
stuff?
end. He says you're hitting the front end, and if you can imagine, the front end's holding the tires from doing the job that they should be doing. Yeah, the temperature has dropped significantly from the first feature to the second feature, and we've got a longer break in between than we have had in other nights as well. So the weather change has dropped a lot of temperature. The track's going to cool off a little bit. It tends to hold heat as long as they're still racing on it, but the ambient temperature's dropped down quite a bit. So typically it helps tighten the cars up, which is fine if you were loose in the first feature. As you remember, we were struggling a little tight through the middle in the first feature. So hopefully the changes we've made have freed the car up so it rolls through the center better. And then if it's going to be snug coming off the corner, well, that's kind of what you want. You want the car to be a little tighter coming off the corner. She was fighting a tight, loose condition where it was tight through the middle, unable to turn. And then because she had the wheel turned so much, it would be loose off the corner. So hopefully with the changes we made, it's going to go well with the weather as it's changing, and we'll see what happens in the second feature. Great run in the first feature. Started 8th, best qualifying run yet, and finished 10th. So another top 10 finish, which is great. Some real heavy hitters out there, so real happy with the top 10. and we'll see why. Hopefully start 9th here in the second feature. She can wheel off another top 10 feature. Long, but get a good run off the bottom. I'll let you know if he's looking. Green, 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 green. Good start. Green, 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 green. Green, green, green. Hit your mark, half back to the 10, one back to the 10, one back to the 10. Hit your mark, hit your mark. Half back to the 10, follow that 11. Get tight on that 11.
It went really well. The car handled really good right off the bat. There was a huge pile up coming right to the restart. We're in turn 4, and the two cars, the rows ahead of me, both got together and had a huge wreck. Luckily, I was able to get by. Honestly, I think everybody that was behind me was in a panic. It was crazy, and only 2 cars I think actually got collected, which is pretty good considering how tight everybody is on the first restart. As the race went on, my car stayed pretty good. It started to get a little loose coming out of the corner, which it usually is. It was drivable, to say the least. A couple laps in, I think maybe the 11th lap, me and the past track champion from last year, we're going into the corner together. The lap previous, I had given him the outside lane, so he knew that was open and that's where I wanted him to go as opposed to the inside. I slowed up a lot going into the corner. I thought in the moment we might have tapped doors, which we might have, I'm not really sure. But I slowed up a lot to make sure I didn't push up into him because he's not somebody that I want to race rough with. He's a great driver and he was passing me cleanly. I might have braked a little bit too much, which led me to get loose and I spun out. I think I was 7th or 6th when that happened. So. I was really disappointed, honestly, with how the situation happened. I was really excited to be running up front. I was really fast, and I had a lead, I think, on a couple of the cars behind me. Other than the 10 car, I knew he was pretty close. After that happened, I was really upset, and I was really disappointed. But in all honesty, if that had kept going on, I wouldn't have finished 5th. I probably would have finished closer to 8th, 9th, 10th, and personally, I'd rather go to the back and drive my way up to 10th than just start 5th and lose spots. It makes me a better driver, it makes me more aware of what my car is doing, and overall, it's a lot more fun to gain spots, especially that many, than it is to lose spots. So I went to the back as a solo car going to the back, and I eventually, through a lot of traffic, raced my way up to 9th. So today was actually my best night overall. I had my best qualifying and I had 2 top 10s. So I'm actually really happy with how everything went, and I couldn't be more excited with how my car handled this week.
Okay, white flag this time by. If you can roll it, roll it. Clear, clear, clear. Keep digging, buddy. All clear. One back, clear, keep digging. Checker flag this time by, buddy. Checker flag, great job out there. Well done. P9, buddy. P9. Well done again from the back. Well done.